Flood season in Winnipeg typically starts March to April. It's related to our the spring melt. Levels tend to rise within the city beginning middle to end of March, during April, and over the course of May. Depending on the event, it can be earlier, can be a little bit later, and it also can extend a little bit to the summer. There's a number of factors that go into that process. What happens in the late fall and during the summer season, essentially how much water is actually captured in the soil itself. The amount of snowpack that occurs throughout the basin and where in the basin that happens. How the melt itself actually occurs. If it's a really, really fast melt, it has potential for a more severe flood versus a longer, drawn out, more ideal melt. Additionally, we are subject to the potential for additional precipitation in the spring, whether that comes as snowfall or as rainfall. Floods themselves, they're a very dynamic process. We could have a lot of snow on the ground, could give an indication that we're in for a really significant flood. But if we get a really ideal melt, then it's a little bit less. Things can also change. We could have what appears to be an average condition and going into the spring melt, and we end up having a very, very fast melt or lots of precipitation. Typically at the end of February and into March, we do get that first flood outlook from the province. That tends to set the tone for what kind of a flood scenario that we are going to be potentially looking at. And we take that information and we build it into our flood manual. We also do some in-house hydraulic modeling. We look at ice processes, and these all together go into setting an initial plan. Regardless of the event, we treat every event as being critical. And with that, there are teams involved behind the scenes who are constantly watching, monitoring, planning, and assessing throughout the event and responding. We go in with the idea of planning for a worst case scenario. We hope for the best case, and we tend to meet somewhere in the middle. We're constantly monitoring the conditions, and we're notifying residents when dikes have to be constructed so that we don't necessarily attempt to have a sandbag dike built and then mean nothing. But that is part of the process, is that sometimes we're not offered the luxury of the time in between when the dike has to be built and when we may lose that opportunity. So we're always going in with the best level of information we have at the time, and how conditions change, and we're doing this to ensure that we're trying to provide the utmost care and service to the public when responding to these flood events. The ultimate goal at the end of the day is to ensure that nobody gets flooded.